These two roles are actually intertwined and complement one another. For investor relations, to put it simply, I help WadzPay or Anish manage investors. This entails capital raising, documentation, due diligence, negotiating term sheets with strategic investors, as well as keeping the investors updated on the company, its progress, developments, and financials, reassuring them that their money is in good hands with WadzPay and with Anish. For special projects, again, to try to put it simply, I look at developing markets, business opportunities, and products for WadzPay, along with coming up with strategies and identifying opportunities. This means working with regulators, key market players, potential partners to ensure a seamless execution and delivery of the project. At the same time, keep a lookout for potential meaningful acquisition targets to help WadzPay and to find the capital to fund the project or strategy. Sure. I think that's quite a tough one. Best business advice I've received from an ex-boss while I was in banking previously, in my previous life, is always stick to fundamentals. Keep things simple and don't over-engineer. But another very good advice that I wanted to share was the market is key. Right? So we have to listen to what the market is saying, and that will determine our next moves and strategy moving forward. On what's the best advice I've given to Anish, it is hard to outthink Anish, given his experience in running businesses, payments, fintech, and just about everything else. I think the best advice I've given to him is convincing him to hire me and to help him grow his business. He's the overall visionary, key business driver in general, but needs captains to deliver and be accountable for any projects that we take on. Having said that, he knew that before I told him, and luckily for me, stars were aligned and he managed to create a role for me in the company. Hopefully he's not regretting his decision yet, but let's see. Does partying and chasing tail count? Anyway, I would say playing rugby. It was a sport that I really loved and I thought I was quite good at. I played rugby at junior college level because I couldn't make the soccer team. And I almost played at national levels for rugby, as recommended by the coach. But I stopped because I busted my shoulder. However, now I still play soccer once a week, try to golf once a week, I play tennis once a week, and bike 50 kilometers at least once a week. The potential of our sector is obviously tremendous. The applications that WadzPay provides, limitless. We are looking at the entire digital payments markets. Revenues amount to just under $2 trillion, globally comprising of more than 400 billion transactions. Our biggest market or competitor is cash, fiat. At least 1.7 billion adults in the world remain unbanked, underserved, or not connected to the global financial or payments grid. At least 64% of the world's payments are still transacted in cash. COVID-19 brought upon this shift, driving preference towards digital payments, bringing existing fiat into the payments grid. E-commerce remains the key driver for digital payments, with volumes expected to hit 5.3 trillion in 2021 and projected to exceed 6.3 trillion in the next 3 years. Our target markets, Asia Pacific and Middle East Africa, represent the largest opportunities, making up the bulk of the unbanked population and 65% of the $2 trillion payment revenues in 2021. WadzPay is well positioned to capitalize on these opportunities. We have partnered with or are in discussions with strategic market players in providing our solutions to these markets. Globally, merchant acquiring has evolved over the past decade from a legacy processing and hardware business to a full-stack software and merchant services solution. The evolution of merchant services typically involves a pattern in which revenues from merchant processing are being commoditized, and in response, players seek to differentiate either by expanding their product suite or by building scale, mostly through acquisitions across geographies, distribution, and delivery channels. One of the pandemic's most visible impacts on financial services has been the dramatic acceleration in shifts towards e-commerce and digital payments. This is true not only in more mainstream verticals such as fashion and groceries, but also in merchant segments like healthcare, professional services, and education, which historically have not received a material portion of payments through B2C digital channels. This has led to an unprecedented digitalization of small business commerce across geographies, mostly through marketplace platforms. Southeast Asia is on the cusp of a financial revolution. About 49% of urban consumers in the region who are commercial bank customers already use e-wallets. It is projected that the proportion will reach 84% by 2025. In fact, adoption could accelerate in the wake of COVID-19, which has triggered a sharp rise in digital payments and home delivery. Low acceptance by merchants is the main stumbling block in the path to greater e-wallet usage. Yet, 74% of merchants say that they will accept e-wallets if barriers to wider adoption, such as poor understanding of processes, complex merchant payment processing, and high fees are addressed. With the setting up of the necessary infrastructure, processes, and onboarding, merchants are ready to jump on the bandwagon, and an all-eager population keen to pay digitally. We are only at the start, but should see tremendous improvements in the next 3 to 5 years. Digital disruption is already a fact of life around the world. Developing nations account for most of that growth. Developing nations have been the vanguard in the digital payment revolution, largely because conventional consumer financial services are underdeveloped and riddled with friction. In many nations, it is hard for consumers to get credit cards from banks because there's no way to verify borrower creditworthiness. And when credit cards are available, many merchants resist accepting them because of high fees. Paying with wads of cash can also be inconvenient. Finding ATMs to make withdrawals is often difficult. And ATMs require bank accounts, which often require extensive documentation. The process of registering and completing electronic transactions through banking accounts, meanwhile, can be time-consuming and frustrating. Regulatory agencies in many countries are supporting the development of e-payment infrastructure to promote financial inclusion. About 90% of the world's governments have indicated positivity towards CBDCs, stablecoins, and the use of digital currencies. Many countries have provided systems that allow for free instantaneous money transfers with high levels of security. In most of Southeast Asia, such transfers require several days. Other Southeast Asian countries, including Singapore and Thailand, have followed China's path and are well advanced towards standardized QR codes. What I envision is that most of the unbanked will have access to the financial system. Lower cost of transfers, lower use of fiat, and widespread acceptance of stablecoins and CBDCs. We will see this change in the next 3 to 5 years. This is the future of payments. It is difficult to ignore any aspect of building a robust business framework, especially in an industry like ours that is continuously evolving. Budgeting and regulatory compliance are key considerations which we always need to adhere to. The only item that we can probably ignore is resources, manpower allocation, as most of us are wearing 4 to 5 hats doing different things, and that is just life in a startup, right? So my key focus right now is actually to work with investors who are aligned with us in raising capital to fund whatever we're trying to do, namely our projects in Indonesia, China, and the Middle East. Our tech is ready for the first phases of merchant acquisition, on-ramping, off-ramping transactions and solutions, but there's so much more that we're trying to build. Business development is the easy part, as almost everybody is willing to talk to us because of our tech. Fundraising is going well and should be closing in the next couple of weeks.